The first story we'll start with is the story of two remarkable sisters, YASMIN and Lamia. YASMIN, an example of a young immigrant girl born in Cairo and moved to America, works as a pharmacist. She and her sister Lamia decided to face the first and biggest challenge for Muslims in America: identity.
My name is Yasmin Arafa, and I am a pharmacist. I'm Muslim American.
Where are you from?
I'm from Egypt originally. I was born in Egypt, however, I'm also American, so I'm half Egyptian, half American.
And here comes a question. Why do Muslims always insist to put Islam in the definition of their identity? They say, I am a Muslim American, while the Christian never says, I am an American Christian, or a Jew never says, I am an American Jew, while a Muslim always says, I am a Muslim American.
That's a really good question. The reason I say I'm a Muslim American is because a lot of times, people see me and they see my hijab, and for some reason they don't see American. So they ask me, where are you from? And I have to tell them I'm American, I'm from here. However, I'm Muslim, because I know automatically that's their question. They're not asking me where am I from. It's kind of like, why do you look different? What's different about you? So I have to let them know, I'm American. I grew up here, however, I am Muslim as well. So I'm kind of like drawing that line, showing them that although I am American and I do come from this culture, religion does play a part in my life too. Because a lot of times people get so caught up in culture and they kind of lose religion. So for me, I try to hold on to both of it, the religion and the cultural aspect.
The fear of losing identity is the biggest concern of the first generation of immigrants, as Dr. Abdul Rauf, Yasmin's father, said.
لا أنا كنت قلقان إن الأولاد يتربوا تربية إسلامية، خاصة إن أنا لساني أعوج، يعني ما كنتش أعرف أقرأ القرآن كويس. إنما سبحان الله عندي ابني يوسف 30 سنة دلوقتي. He's almost like قراءته في القرآن أحسن مني كتير جدا.
It's not really hard to be raised as a good Muslim in America. The reason being is because if you learn the religion, for me myself personally, when I started to study the religion, it made so much sense to me. So although it is hard in the sense that you don't have a lot of support, especially if you're in a society where you're the minority and a lot of things that you can't do are standard and everyone else does it. However, for me, learning about Islam and loving to follow the rules, it was something that was not too hard for me.
Identity here is much deeper than ethnicity or cultural background, and perhaps even more diversified and richer. And this was the meaning that was expressed by Lamia.
Well, as my nationality is American, my religion is Muslim, and my ethnicity is half Arab, half Egyptian, and half white Caucasian.
Yes. So, you have to have this long answer?
It depends on the question. If someone just asks me where I'm from, I'll say, well, my father's from Egypt, my mother is originally from America, so I always say I'm a mutt because I'm a mixture. And having that, growing up in a mixed household with the different cultures was such a blessing. And one of the biggest blessings was through Islam, because oftentimes Islam is kind of muddled by culture, specifically for children growing up. And so having the two different cultures merging and raising me was really nice to allow the religion itself to be highlighted and not a culture.
Culture is kind of your likes and dislikes, how you grew up. I grew up in America. I lived here most of my life. So culturally speaking, I like foods from here and I like hanging out at certain places with my friends. So culturally, I'm pretty much American. However, for my religion, that's something completely different. I follow Islam, but at the same time, I'm American. So there's a line you have to draw between, religion and culture. A lot of times that line gets confused. So for me, I just always try to distinguish between religion and culture.
Thus, Islam becomes an identity that transcends cultural and societal boundaries.
I feel like Islam gave me a bigger identity. It's not just being about being Arab. You can be Muslim and you can be Arab, you can be Muslim and American, you can be Muslim and Chinese. You don't have to know the language, you don't have to live in a certain place. I feel like you could be Muslim anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter what language you speak or where you live. And I feel a very strong connection to Islam without having ever learned fluent Arabic.
But dealing with Islam as an identity in the American society is not as smooth as expected. For example, the hijab.
I started to wear the hijab when I was, it was a very gradual process for me actually. So when I was in high school, I started to decide to go on the journey of hijab. So I very slowly started to make my wardrobe more modest. So my sleeves slowly got longer and my pants slowly got longer. And then my clothes slowly got looser. And then I'd wear the hijab like part-time, sort of like I'd wear it to one class and then not to the other class. And then after I graduated high school, when I was about 19 years old, I started to wear it full-time.
I do feel like the hijab distinguishes me from society. Probably because not a lot of people wear hijab unless they're Muslim, and there are a few Catholics and other religions that wear it. However, I would be the minority that does wear hijab, so it does definitely distinguish me amongst other people.
But it's also kind of exhausting sometimes, like when you realize that wherever you go, especially in a smaller southern town in America, you sometimes are the only Muslim these people have ever met. So I'll walk into like a feed store. You know, within the horse community, we are even a smaller minority. So I'll walk into certain places and I'll acknowledge that I might be the only Muslim that this person ever meets. My interaction with this human might be the only interaction they have with Islam ever. And so that puts a lot of pressure on me to try to be the best Muslim possible. So it is not a burden in any way, it's a blessing, but it is very highly weighed in my mind, and so it's acknowledged that way.
However, these hijab difficulties did not stop Yasmin from showing her hijab proudly. Moreover, it turned from being a restriction to be liberating, as explained by Yasmin.
Some people do feel like hijab, or they have the misconception that hijab puts restrictions on you. However, the reality really to me was that it was the opposite. I never felt like hijab put restrictions on me. It felt more as if it took those restrictions off, because I didn't feel the need to live up to the society standards of how pretty or how skinny or all these definitions women have to live by and are really impossible to live by, because it's impossible to look the way that you're expected to look. So to me, it felt very liberating to be able to cover and to go out in society and know that you have to judge me based on my personality and based on my character rather than based on how I look. So it wasn't something that I felt like held me back. It really gave me a confidence that I did not see in other people that didn't wear it. So.
Well, the hijab has never restricted me in any way. You mentioned a few prohibitions that we're not allowed to participate in as Muslim. And my parents raised me as Muslim, so even without the hijab, with or without it, my goal every day is to try to live Islam in the best way. So those things were never on the plate for me. But having the hijab for sure did add a huge responsibility for me. In fact, that's why I had that training period where that was half on, half off, because I felt the immense pressure of what I was now carrying on my shoulders. Quite literally, I was now an image for Islam, which is a huge blessing. It's like one of the greatest blessings ever, and I really love it.
With emphasizing Islam as an identity and adopting the correct understandings of its true message, a Muslim becomes a living manifestation of Islam, and instead of hiding or taking a step backwards, he moves forwards.
I do sometimes feel I need to explain myself. However, not generally speaking, I'm very confident about wearing hijab. I love wearing the hijab, so if I do feel like someone has a question or they'll be looking at me and I kind of get the feeling they want to ask, what is it, what's the reason behind wearing the veil, I have a very confident answer, and I'm very proud to wear it. So I don't find it a problem talking to people about it.
I think as American Muslims, we have a unique opportunity to be able to show Islam to non-Muslims on a daily basis. And not just on a daily basis, literally on an hour to hour, every moment that we are living, that we interact with the people in our lives, we have the opportunity to give da'wah. And that is something that is not afforded to many Muslims who are living in Muslim majority countries. And so I consider that a huge blessing. Being able to do da'wah every day, everywhere you walk, everything you do, being able to show what the true Islam is to people who have zero clue about it is a huge blessing. And so even the less positive interactions we may have, even the occasional difficult interactions, and of course there are some difficult interactions, those are as well blessings, and their ability to do da'wah in the best of ways.
And this is how Yasmin and her sister Lemia managed to turn the dilemma of identity to a new approach, an identity that contained both culture and ethnicity, provided that it is built on a strong basis, namely Islam.